Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today is going to be another banger because we're on day 2 of this SoD, lights, bunny drama stuff that's been going on. And we're going to cover it because we officially got a response from SoD himself. Again, the R5 of Echo, King of 60, number one kingdom, number one alliance in the game, especially on the fighting side. I don't really think that's been argued over the past number of seasons. So before we read that, let me give you a quick recap. And as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up. Okay. So initially, this news broke from Princess, which is over at Princess_TV YouTube channel, and Wahid on their Yapcast yesterday. I believe it was around 12 p.m. Eastern time. So as of today, it was 26 and a half hours ago-ish as of recording. What was announced there was that SoD and whomever else had access to the Lights accounts, which means that the Lights gave SoD supposedly, allegedly, their security information to log into said account. SoD played the account apparently, and for however long, which again, I don't know if that's because the Lights were active or not that active for however long. There's quite a bit that has been thrown around. So I want to deal a little bit more on what we know right now, not what we may know, unless I hear that or see that from a confirmed source. What ended up being shown and the accusation made, which was Bunny had brought it to the attention of I believe Princess and/or Wahid, and had reached out to the Lights and said, hey, look, this is happening. It appeared that Bunny was aware of it, went to the Lights. They were okay with then sharing at that point. And what was shown on stream was that SoD had sent himself dragon tickets. And then there was the claim of some money in the thousands that was sent from supposedly Northern to SoD via PayPal. Now, we know later in the day, right? Now, we saw the amount of dragon tickets. Some people were saying the amount of the dragon tickets was in the thousands of dollars. I believe one of the numbers thrown around there was about 2,300 USD. That was quoted. Again, I have not gone through all the screenshots to account and look at every single amount myself yet. It is something I am planning on doing. I just want to throw out kind of what has been stated thus far. Then, later in the day, when I was streaming, Jason had posted some more another screenshot kind of data dump from conversations supposedly with Northern Light on their Discord account. Now remember, Northern, from what I understand, is the lady and Southern is the gentleman. One of those screenshots was a PayPal transaction history between them and money that they sent to SoD. And that was estimated, I believe, to be a little over $4,000 that we saw. Now, they also stated at this time that half of that money, the money was sent for, I believe, pet coins and anything else. Northern had also stated that at least half of that money or around that was used as intended, right? So nothing kind of foul play or wrong there. But it was the other half of the money that supposedly was unaccounted for and that SoD may have pocketed, right? That's kind of the accusation, the statement. So now we fast forward to today. And that basically gets you caught up on everything. Let's go and read this announcement from SoD and see what is said. Okay. To everyone who has seen what has come around in terms of the Lights, and I know people are curious to see what I have to say. As a start, I've reached out to CS for some transactional ID related stuff and the Lights themselves to try and clear some things up. I mean, to be fair, I think that sounds like probably a step that you would take when you're in such a position, right? You probably want to try and get some information depending on what you may or may not have at that time and may or may not have been blindsided. Okay. I mean, that seems, I guess, standard-ish, right, so far. Not everything will be so simple and clear-cut. There was a bond filled with trust that cannot be explained to some idiots who want to talk about a friendship relationship I once had, and they knew nothing about. Linked is a channel with some bits of text and images and some purchase receipts with the Lights completely acknowledging my spending on their accounts. Feel free to take a look. I prefer if it's kept internal, especially as there may be some sensitive info there I don't really care about proving myself to people who hate and have hated me for my entire time playing this game. That feels like a waste of effort, and I'm lazy anyways. And then there was some evidence here. I do want to share that I have had some people within Echo that have shared, from what I understand, pretty much everything that's in that channel. I have not gone through it yet. And like I said, I'll say this: I don't know if I will cover it or not. Maybe, but like with anything I do, I want to go through it, and then I also want to ask any relevant questions in order to give clarity to what is in there, right? And then obviously if we get an answer or not. So that's first and foremost, right? I think anything that, again, if there is truly sensitive information in there, whether that's censoring certain things or blacking certain things out, or maybe there's just too much that there's certain things you may or may not be able to show. So I just want to state that for the record. And right, but let's keep going. If you've actually been in Echo, you know those two accounts were only ever used by myself and Yuzu. Both improved their pets drastically, maxing some out, yet the lights were nowhere to be seen. Pet coins don't appear out of thin air, so if the lights weren't around, who exactly was spending to make those upgrades, push power, and burn through mana to heal like crazy? The reality is, and I hate to throw around numbers, but over $100,000 has gone into my account alone. That doesn't even count ticket gifting or spending on accounts I no longer own or ones I've helped friends with. We actually heard some people yesterday on the live stream that spoke about this, where somebody had given an example of, I guess, an account that allegedly SoD had helped facilitate and had, again, provided a middleman transaction for a cheaper than what the value was that was originally being asked. And there was some other examples I think that were thrown. That was one I recall. Okay. And also, I want to keep this in mind, right? As everyone knows, Rock, Rise of Kingdoms, and CallofDragons is very similar. Rise of Kingdoms has just recently announced, as of yesterday, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, that they have started to roll out an official account selling trading platform. You can take that for what it is, but if Rock has it, and it's something that we know is pretty rampant or it's just pretty popular to do in Kingdom Builders, it's very obvious that this is eventually going to come to CallofDragons, and then that portion of the TOS will be irrelevant, or at least moot at that point, because the developers themselves will most likely at that point sanction it because it will be official. Now, whether that's because they want to get a piece of that action, I think I made the example, it's like the government legalizing marijuana, right? They want to get a piece of that action. Now, I don't know if that's how that works on the back end, if they're compensated, if there's a fee or anything like that, but we just know that it's in Rise of Kingdoms right now, so there's I would be shocked, is what I'm saying, is if it doesn't end up coming over to CallofDragons. Just want to state that for the record. Okay. So we have the numbers publicly fraction. Okay, yeah. So what numbers people want to throw around publicly are only a fraction of the actual investment I've made in this game. Okay. The funny part is that people want to act like a few $1,000s is catastrophic while ignoring the scale of what's already been put in. The only reason I've even addressed this is because I've been accused of scamming. At that point, it doesn't matter if the number in question is $5 or 500,000. It's still the same accusation. I think that's a fair assessment. One day, if the COD community grows up a bit and people, and I want to be very clear here. I said this on stream, but I'm going to say this again for the record, right? This is one of the reasons why, like when people asked me, like when people brought the does situation to me, one of the reasons I didn't cover the does, again, quote unquote, scamming situation was because I didn't see enough clear evidence to where I could then, for example, go to does and say, look, this is what I have. Can you share with me your side? Right. Now, I did ask him a couple questions at the time when I was lightly looking into this, but there just wasn't enough that I had seen at that time. Now, people did share stuff with me, but it wasn't as foolproof and it wasn't as rock solid as I would have wanted it to be to cover that particular type of story. Because as SoD alluded to here, at that point, you are making an accusation, right? Regardless, you are pointing the finger, you are saying this person did this. And I very much like to believe that there has to be some level of journalistic integrity at some point when you're going to cover a story of such a magnitude, right? When it's that big, you really got to do your due diligence and cross your I's and dot your T's. Dot your I's and cross your T's. You guys know what I mean? So I just wanted to state that because I'm sure some people might ask. Continuing on. And then the other part I wanted to get to, right, is about Wahid and Princess on the Yapcast talking about this. Part of me feels like there are levels to, there's different tiers to news, to drama. And keep in mind, to me, there's a big difference between you covering news, covering drama, and then what you could argue is kind of is the gray area between like accusations, defamation, and like you're really, like you're really pushing the boundary a little bit at that point. And for me, right, something like this is big, right? Because it's not like you're just accusing Joe Schmo who's in like a rank 700 alliance in Kingdom 647, just right. It's like they're 2-3 billion power, whatnot, right? And it's like someone who said, "Oh yeah, someone logged into my account and they deleted it." Like it was like I'm forgetting whose account it was, where it's like somebody logged in, they deleted a bunch of troops, right? Like that was a minor story, right? For a little while, but obviously this has so much eyes on it because again, it's the number one kingdom, the number one alliance. It's SoD, right? Well-known name in the community, and again, they have a whether you want to call it a reputation or they have their image is probably a better word to use. This has become a very big story, and I think when you look at it from that perspective, objectively on the outside looking in, anything you say to me has to really be thorough, right? And I understand with what Princess and Wahid said is like, oh, look, they're just, quote unquote, yapping. They're just sharing and talking about things that were said. But at some point, there has to be some level of self-awareness and accountability. And this isn't to say don't talk about it. This isn't to say don't put it out there. What it is to say, however, is that there has to be some level of consciousness on applying a level of due diligence and making sure that what you're putting out there isn't just one side of the story. And I say that because when I was watching the stream, in the beginning, it came off as like, okay, they're just sharing this and, for what it is, some people shared some information with them. Okay, they're putting it out there. But then it started to sound to me like as it got later in the stream, it started turning a bit accusatory, a bit defamatory in that sense of just the tonal intent behind how it sounded and how it was coming off and the people that were coming on to speak. And it felt very much like, okay, now we're just going to point fingers. We are the judge, jury, executioner, and we have decided later in the stream that this is the general consensus or majority community conclusion we're going with. And that's how it came off to me. Maybe it didn't come off to other people like that. But that's my point, is that some people can take it that way. And it's very important to make sure that you are crystal clear and you are really, because again, right, I don't want to say that it's an excuse of you saying like, oh, well, we're just yapping, we're just talking about it. And, we just wanted to share it because we thought it was messed up. Right. And then sometimes you get into like this contradictory, like back and forth of like, oh, it's serious, but it's not serious. It's just like that. You can get yourself into trouble when you do stuff like that. Right. And it just doesn't look good. So again, that's what I'll say there for how I interpreted it, for how I felt when I was watching it. And so again, I just feel like you got to really be responsible. That's what I'll kind of end that point with, right? When you put something out like that. Okay. So then we go, okay, right? So he says investment fraction. Okay, the funny part is that people want to act like a few. Oh wait, I think we did that one. Yeah, one day. Here we go. One day, if the CoD community grows up a bit, people get out of their basement into real jobs, maybe a few $1,000s of what isn't even scamming won't seem like the end of the world. A final message for this post, and I will keep it blunt and rude because, well, okay, well, damn, geez, all right. Because this will get sent to everyone in existence anyways. I mean, touche. I honestly do not care what the community thinks about me in this aspect. I'm here to lead an alliance. I won't waste my time on petty shiat from a heartbroken individual who became vindictive because he got his feelings. Okay, to those who want immediate satisfaction for me panicking, that does not exist. I will continue to lead to my full potential and will continue to provide as much as I can, just as I always have. Okay. If you leave Echo because of this, best of luck in whatever bum arse alliance you end up in. Shots fired. At basically everyone outside of Echo. Nobody can beat Echo. Damn! That's why the rest of the top alliances will Diplo win against Echo this upcoming season. More in the town hall this upcoming Sunday. Yeah. Interesting. It makes you wonder, okay, does SoD know something already we don't know? As far as, okay, is it, because people have been already talking about in the Gen chat, like, is this going to be a free-for-all? Is it going to be a 2v4? With Echo playing, I think potentially their third underdog KVK season. Okay. We'll see. You guys let me know what you think on this. And again, right, there's a number of things we haven't shown because, again, I could only imagine how long it's going to take to sort through, right, the evidence, right, along with organizing everything so it fits timelines. There's a lot to sort through, right? So we'll see if we get to it. But I at least wanted to bring you guys up to speed on SoD's response and his announcement to the situation. You let me know. Does this change anything for you? Yes or no? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for me. As always, until next time, we'll catch you later.